In this video, I'm going to tear down the cylinder head and the cylinder on a seized engine, and here we have the donor engine on the left and the seized engine on the right. First, loosen all the nuts on the cylinder head. I like to do this in a cross pattern so that there's no stress put on any part of the head. I do a half a turn first. You get the idea. It's a kind of cross pattern you do in all the bolts. This is done so no stress or warping can happen to the head. It's probably more important to do when you're tightening, but I still follow the steps when I'm loosening. Tap around the head to loosen and break the seal. Gently prise off the head, trying not to do any damage, and in this case the head was a bit stuck because someone had used both the gasket and silicone sealant. At this stage you'd normally use a wrench to turn the timing plate to rotate the crankshaft counterclockwise until the engine is at top dead centre, but since this engine is seized, that's not possible. Loosen the two bolts at the cam chain tensioner and remove the cam chain tensioner and inspect. Remove the centre cam chain guide. This will make it easier to get the cams out. I had to use an open spanner that I don't like using, but because I couldn't turn the cams over, it was the only way I could access the nuts. There's two nuts on each sprocket and they need to be removed. Once I got the sprocket off, the cam chain was now fully loose. Now loosen the cam caps with the old cross section loosening half a turn. Because the camshaft was under pressure from the valve springs, I had to kind of move and loosen each of the cam covers. This was so at any one time there was no pressure at any particular point on the camshaft. And whoa, you can see a little jump on the camshaft as one of the springs was released. And just in case you're under the impression that I can work this quick, I speeded this video up a lot here because it actually took quite a while to loosen all these off. The cam covers are marked and have a direction on them, as well as the fact some of them have dowels, so just take a note of where the dowels are when you're removing the cam covers. Cam caps were still quite tight and needed a little bit of gentle persuasion with the rubber mallet and gentle prising with a screwdriver. Be careful not to damage or scratch anything when using a screwdriver in this section of the engine. And this little cam cap wanted to fight me, so it took a little bit of more persuasion and a little bit of more fiddling to get it to finally come off. This was most likely due to the fact that it has the two dowels in it. I removed the two dowels and put them back into the cam cap so as not to lose them, and then removed the camshaft. And then repeat the process with the camshaft on the inlet side, again with the cam caps, take the nuts out and basically fiddling around till you get it off. Remembering to connect something like a wire to the cam chain so it doesn't drop into the engine and cause you more problems later. And as you can see, it needed more gentle persuasion to get the cam covers to come off again. As the song says, come on, come on, come on, get off. And finally, after a lot of persuasion, the inlet camshaft is out. Loosen off the bolts each side of the cylinder head at the bottom. Not forgetting to remove the cam chain front guide. Now you're into removing the nuts that hold the complete head section on. These are very tight and need a good bit of leverage, and you give a half turn and the order is here. Now this is going to sound a bit like the count from Sesame Street, but you give each of the nuts a half turn and then repeat the process until you've loosened them all off, and this is the order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and repeat this until they're all finally loose and off. Now more tapping is required, and if there's a drummer in you, now's the time to get practicing. Remove the washers from the head studs so that the penetration oil can get down further. A lot of more tapping with a rubber mallet and spraying with penetration oil went on to achieve any kind of movement. More drum practice with the rubber mallet, and using the blowtorch to apply heat to get anything to move. And after a lot of coaxing, the head finally came off. Now we get into removing the barrels. Remove the front cylinder holding nut. Cylinder 1 was the culprit with the seized piston. There was a lot of blowtorching, spraying penetration oil, but I'm not going to make you suffer all that. And it was back to being a drummer with the rubber mallet. Being as careful as I could, I had to use some tire levers to try and get any kind of movement. Not like you see in a lot of television programs where the barrel just lifts straight off. Once there was any gap between the barrel and the sump, I used some scrap wood, which again, it was back to beating the scrap wood to try and move it up on the piston slowly but surely. This tapping with the wood took about 20 minutes or so, but as you can see, the video speeded up because I didn't want you suffering what I had to do. And just in case you notice some of the fins are damaged, this wasn't done by me. This was done previously when the bike had obviously had a tumble. So don't blame me. And this is why, people out there, if you have a motorcycle, don't leave it sitting for years, because this is what happens. I'm just showing you one of the other cylinders so you can compare it with the cylinder that had completely seized. I can only guess the reason for why cylinder 1 was the one that seized, but I think it was possibly that the bike was left on the side stand and that any moisture build-up then happened on that cylinder. And here's a view of the piston from cylinder 1. The piston rings had completely seized on it. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you.